Good evening and welcome to the October 22nd edition of the Derry Cooperative School District School Board meeting. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's get started with the approval of our workshop minutes from July 23rd.
So moved.
First by Jonathan.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 4-0. Next, we will approve the non-public minutes from October 8th.
So moved.
First by Jonathan.
Second.
Second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 4-0. And finally, we'll approve the public minutes from October 8th.
So moved.
First by Jonathan.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. All right, so yeah, we have 4 members here tonight. We have a sickness and some personal matters. But one thing before we move on, I do want to announce the resignation of Wilbert Danger. I received a letter from Wilbert last week, resigning his position on the school board. So just to give everyone an update on how this process will work, per our school board policy, we have to post the open vacancy in the paper, which we did. We did the Union Leader last Thursday, and the Derry News will be this Thursday, and that has to happen 15 days prior to us selecting the next school board member for the final 3 months of this current session, and then there'll be an election for a 2-year seat, along with an election of 3 school board members for 3 years. So we'll have 4 seats, 1 2-year, 3 3-year, coming up in March. As per policy, we ask that any interested candidates please submit a letter of interest to the administration, and you'll be considered at the November 14th meeting. That's when the selection will be made. But the cutoff for the letter of interest is November 7th. So that gives the board a week to kind of go through the information, follow up with any of the candidates. And speaking of that, I highly recommend that school board members reach out to people who submitted a letter of interest if they have questions. Same with the candidates, if they want to reach out to us, if they have questions and concerns and all that good stuff. I think it should be a mutual discussion, so we're not sitting here on the 14th kind of debating for 2 hours what we're going to do. We should have a good idea based on discussions or whatever prior to that. So that's the ultimate goal. So I'll leave it up to the individual board members to figure out their process and how they want to go about that, and we'll go from there. And obviously, if there's any questions regarding the process or anything, feel free to reach out to myself or Austin, and we'll get those answered for you. It did. Yep. November 7th is the cutoff for that. So can we, I think we have a motion to amend unless you got a question.
No, I had a motion
Yep,
to amend the
okay.
schedule, the
Yep.
agenda. Just move committees, item number 13 up to number 2.
All right, first by Jason,
Second.
second by Jonathan. Any discussion? I don't see any. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. So we will move item number 13 for discussion right now, which is our committees. And I will give the floor to Michael to start off with the, why am I drawing a blank?
Negotiating.
The negotiation committee, thank you.
The negotiating committee met with the Derry Education Association's negotiating team last night, and I'd like to make a statement on behalf of the board and the negotiating team. The board negotiating team has met with the DEA's negotiating team multiple times since the summer. On Monday, the board made another significant 3-year offer to the DEA with the goal of giving appropriate increases to all of our teachers and making our salary for our less experienced teachers more competitive with other districts. This 3-year offer would put significantly more money into teacher salaries than any agreement in recent memory. The board wants our teachers to be fairly compensated for their invaluable work, but we also have an obligation to consider the economic realities that face our community. After receiving the union's counteroffer, the board chose to declare an impasse. The board feels the two sides are still far apart, and the logical next step is to bring in a third-party mediator.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the other board members? No? Okay. All right, well, I appreciate it. I know this has been a long process for you guys, and you guys have done great work in trying to move this along and present a fair deal that I think we can all be proud of. And I definitely appreciate that. Thank you. Did you want something, John?
I just have next
Okay.
committee.
Yeah, good.
So if we're done with that, we can move on. Manifest committee?
Yes, let's do the manifest.
Excellent. So I will move to approve the manifest in a grand total of $16,735,411.53. Of that, general payroll is $1,232,584.34, and general expenses of $15,502,827.19.
Second.
All right, we have first by Jonathan, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 4-0. So next we'll go to Cliff to kind of give us an update on last week's event regarding the electric bus grant, and I guess it rolls into a transportation kind of discussion.
Certainly. Last spring, David Fairweather from First Student came to me and asked if we would be interested in a grant proposal to the EPA to purchase electric buses, and we went through the entire process. And we were the New Hampshire lottery winners for the largest grant in the state of New Hampshire. And with that, we were, First Student will be able to purchase 25 electric buses to be, to replace 25 of our diesel-based buses. We had an event on Wednesday where Senator Maggie Hassan came with Representative Chris Pappas and EPA Administrator David Cash, where they congratulated the district. Members of the West Running Brook Cares team here, a group of 5th and 6th graders, also came and they presented as well and got to look on the bus, and then a few of us got to get on the bus and take a ride around the school in this very quiet, very quick to move bus, but just showing a few pictures of the event here. It was extremely exciting to be a part of that, but that was it.
Yeah, I would second that. And what I will say is that, just to be clear, we contracted for a student. They're our provider. They received the grant on our, and we benefit with the newer buses. And obviously, any future discussion regarding mutual beneficial between First Student and us will happen in the Transportation Committee level. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. We don't benefit. We don't get the $8.6 million in the buses in our name. First Student owns them. But with that being said, there's a case to be made that both First Student should benefit financially and the district should benefit financially as well. And we'll hash that out. Right now, it's all new. I mean, we literally just had this event last Thursday. Mm-hmm. So our next Transportation Committee meeting may not address this right away, but Cliff said he's having talks with them in the future as well. But just to be clear, that's how this works. This was an initiative by First Student, and Cliff obviously played a role in helping them gathering paperwork and whatever it needed to make this happen. What I'll say is the town has been on this train for a long time with the Net Zero Committee. We got a member in the audience that's been on it for a while now, and they're doing good work. So this is really piggybacking on that work and just bringing it downstream to the school district now. And what I would say is one of the big initiatives that Net Zero is working on now, when I was on the committee last year, is EV, electric vehicles for town use vehicles. They're on that kick to make that happen. So this is something that's been an initiative for a long time in this town. The school district's catching up a little bit, I guess, what you would say from that perspective. And then, this is something, the way of the world. This is where we're heading. And so that's just wanted to say that. And, we have Transportation Committee meeting next week that will discuss other things as well. But this was a very good event, and being a school board member, you have many more, how's the word? Challenging situations. You don't always get to go to the fun stuff and really be happy and experience what that event was. So that was very nice to be there and be part of that. With regards to facilities committee, we have we'll be talking more about some facility stuff tonight, but just from a committee perspective, After tonight's discussion, we're going to be in our next phase of the process, which is developing a plan to educate the public and work through a process that gets to as many people as possible outside of our domain of school, parents and all that. So we'll be working through that process. That's our next step. We don't have a meeting currently on the books, but we'll have that in the books, I assume, in short order. So that's I can't think of any other committee updates that we have at this point. Oh, we have Ascending Town meeting on Thursday with Pinkerton. So every quarter, Pinkerton invites us to come to the Astro Cafe. The culinary kids make a good dinner, and we have discussions on various topics going on at Pinkerton with all the Ascending Town school board members who can make it, obviously. It's usually a pretty good discussion. Sometimes it gets a little in the weeds, but we try to make it productive, and it's usually a good time, and it's good to get in and see and hear what's going on with our high school kids. I think unless there's nothing else, I will move to delegations and individuals, where anybody can come up, have their 3 minutes, give your name and address, and on any subject you'd like. Thank you. Oh, before we move on, I did want to say, so we do have, candidates who submit their name, a letter of interest, will be posted on our website, just like any other election, where we have candidates on the website to show who's signed up. Right now, we have 2 people, Karen Rand and Tom Carden, currently signed up. So people who have signed up, I'm curious, who are continue to sign up, you can check the website front page. I think it's front page, right, usual?
Yes, it's in the new section down in the bottom.
Okay.
About it says right on their school board member vacancy.
So the one thing I will say is your letter of interest will stay within the board members. Those will not be made public. And then we'll, more to come. I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. So I'll open up delegation individuals right now.
Hi. Make sure everybody can hear me okay. Good evening. Hello. My name's Jen Thoreau. I live at 33 Village Brook Lane. I'm coming here tonight because I had the opportunity today to get a facility tour by the Director of Facilities. Jeremy was very gracious, offered me his time this morning, and I got a firsthand look at Hood Middle School. Well, I'm not sure. Is it Hood Middle School now? Do we call it middle school? Okay. Hood, West Running Brook, and South Range. And for those who might be listening at home and don't know, I'm a member of the Fiscal Advisory Committee this year, so I had a vested interest in getting to see some of the repairs that are necessary in the schools. And what I will say is, as I've been tuning into the meetings here and paying attention at home, and also getting more involved, we've only had one fiscal advisory meeting, but we'll be meeting again next week. I can say that there's lists that go around. I got one tonight from Jane, the list of repairs. And I can say that, having gone now to see 3 of the schools in person myself, it paints a much clearer picture of the very real challenges that our facilities are in need of. And so for people who might be listening at home or who remain skeptical about what each item is, I can tell you that these are not luxury items. And really, even once these repairs are done, and I'm really hoping that the bond passes for this to happen, even when you drive by these schools after the fact, you probably won't notice a difference in what they look like, which is disappointing on some level, of course, when we're investing this much money. And I know that this has been well beyond me being a Derry resident, how we've gotten here. But I do think that we are here now. We need to move forward. And I remain hopeful that the board will be able to, as Mr. Clapp mentioned, come up with a plan to educate the public further. Because seeing the list and seeing what I saw today are markedly different experiences. So that's all I have to add tonight. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Pinkerton Academy update. I think there's no major updates except we talked about the Sunday town meeting. Unless Jonathan has anything.
We skipped personnel.
Oop, I did. Do we have personnel, Austin? I apologize.
We have no personnel tonight. That it was just about the school board resignation.
So with regards to that, I am going to postpone the the vote on accepting the resignation till we have a full board assembled at this point in time. That goes for most all the other votes tonight. I'd like to have the full board here to do that. We have plenty of time to push this off to the 14th and accommodate that need, that request of mine. Okay, so with that being said, Pinkerton, we just talked about sending town meetings, really the big update. So we have Joe and an update on the strategic plan.
All right, thank you, everybody. Just going to walk you quickly through progress that we've made on our strategic plan. This presentation will also be posted online so that people can click into it later because there are some links here. So first up, really our process is really a 4-phase process. So we've really completed phases 1, 2, and we're almost done phase 3, and then phase 4 is really about the implementation and the progress monitoring aspects.
Would you full screen that?
I will full screen this. All right. So we have discussed this previously, that phase 1, we spent a bunch of time this spring with the help of G&D Associates gathering stakeholder input. As you can see, there were several hundred individuals from the community that participated in one way or another. Lots of focus groups, people completing surveys, some one-on-one interviews. Linked here to the right is the community engagement synthesis report that the board has had for probably a couple months now. It's been up on the web, and this is kind of the synthesis of all of that stakeholder feedback. Phase 2 was the development of a vision, which we're excited to make public tonight. Over on the right where you see strategic vision, that is a link to our strategic vision document, which is, I think it's about 8 or 9 pages, and it outlines the work that the Strategic Planning Committee has done during the spring and then continued during the summer. So that team included school board members, parents, staff members, school administrators, and central office administrators, and we were led by G&D Associates through that work. And we'll talk more about the vision in just a few minutes about how we're going to make sure we share that. So our vision is really grounded in 5 principles that are guiding our work, and those are learning, teaching, leadership, professional learning, and community engagement. So these 5 core tenets are the big ideas with which we kind of built the vision statements around. All of our project work in the actual strategic plan will be directly linked to one of these 5 tenets. So I want to come back to that vision document and how we will be sharing that out with the public. So obviously we're here tonight to publicly post it and make sure that people have an opportunity to take a look at it. We did an initial rollout with our leadership team administrators last week, and we will be beginning some rollouts to staff over the course of the next month or 2. We'd like to do that in person because we want to engage teachers and other staff members in conversations about what this vision might look like. Additionally, we'll be sharing some things on our web, on social media, through a video that we've been working on to communicate with families and community members. It'll go out in our newsletter. And we also plan to talk with PTSA and other community forum opportunities to try to share this vision with everyone. Phase 3 is really about the development of the strategic plan. So the strategic plan is, we began this work in the summer, again, facilitated by G&D Associates. And through that process, it was mostly the team that had helped develop the vision. And we identified 24 specific projects tied to this vision that we would like to accomplish in the 24-25 school year. And that seems like a lot. If it does seem like a lot to you, you're right, it is a lot. It is an ambitious set of projects, but we believe that these are all meaningful. We actually, I think, started out with probably close to 50 or so priorities, and we had to refine those with the help of G&D Associates. So as part of developing that strategic plan, we are building out both a dashboard and then individual project plans. This is a little bit of a snapshot. Well, this is a snapshot of a piece of the dashboard. So this dashboard will be public facing and will outline all 24 of the projects from a high level view. You can see there's only, I think, 6 here, so this is about a quarter of the dashboard right now. Once that is up and ready to go, which we anticipate by early November, that'll be posted publicly and people can follow along. Each of the projects, each of the 24 projects has a strategic plan, a project plan that is detailed. This is, again, a snapshot of just one of the projects that has deliverables and targets for each of the steps, along with success criteria. So this is a working document. So these pieces move and change. This won't necessarily be posted publicly because it's an internal working document, but each of these plans have attached to them a detailed project plan. And then finally, phase 4, probably the most important phase, which is the actual implementation of these projects. And this is going to be an ongoing process. So G&D Associates, one of the reasons that I think the board chose this organization was they were committed to an ongoing level of support and feedback for us. It isn't one of these agreements where their job is to just get us to write a plan and then they walk away. So we are frequently in contact with G&D for support and help. They have regular calls and check-ins with us, and we'll be relying on them throughout this process. And this also includes an on-site facilitation at the end of this school year to help us develop our project plan for the 25-26 school year, because this vision is, as I said, it's ambitious. So these projects that we have in place this year are just the tip of the iceberg. We will be continuing to build upon this work from year to year. So that is a quick update on the strategic plan. As I said, there are a couple links built right into this presentation, which will be made available on our website. Does anybody have questions?
I don't have a question. It's more of a statement. Just kind of just appreciate, really the community engagement efforts to provide, I took a quote out here, a window into our district. I think that's really important, getting parents involved, getting community members involved, getting teachers involved. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. So I know I wasn't on the committee, but I know my fellow board members were, and the time commitment that they put in, I believe with a couple, or at least one, if not 2 full day sessions, as well as, all of the administration, the teachers, again, any community members or parents that also participated in that. I just really appreciate that. And one of the things that I got from the 5 different kind of pillars that we're looking at is, just emphasizing the engagement of families as active partners. And, the job of educating our students doesn't just start and end when they enter our buildings or when they leave our buildings. And so I think that's important as we continue to try and improve that. I think that's, again, I've said this many times that, student success is going to be oftentimes determined by, involvement of the parents and that hand that guides those students throughout the process. So as much as we can do to support families to do that, that's great, but it also requires, reciprocation as well. So yeah, just really looking forward to this. Obviously, this is a good step in the process, but implementation is going to be where the hard work really starts. And so looking forward to that. And I appreciate, I'm a visual guy, so the dashboard is something that really speaks to me, and being able to see how we're tracking and progressing is going to be really important, so that we have, tangible items that we can say and report back to and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I will say, having served on the committee, the two-day sessions that we did, I feel like that was probably one of the most productive things that we've done around here, probably in the year and a half that I've been here. And I know it's going to create a lot of work for you guys, now as we're implementing it, but hopefully as, we work through the years, it will not be something that creates a ton of extra work, but it's just something that guides the work that you're already doing.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate the update and all the work that it went into doing this. So thank you guys very much. So next we have the superintendent search update. So a couple things here. Next week we have Scott Fuller, who will be on site. On Tuesday night we have a community night at Barca from 5:30 to 7. This is where it's really more informational. Scott will go through the timeline and what's been occurring throughout this process. I understand it is the same night as fiscal advisory, but it starts at 5:30, so that gives people, if people want, I'm probably going to hit it before and head over to the budget meeting, but it's just something that I think, I could be wrong, I don't think he'll have a straight hour-and-a-half presentation. It'll probably be in and out and answer questions and that kind of thing, but I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that's kind of the structure. And then on Wednesday, Scott is meeting with all our, I asked what school he's going to, but he's going to talk to principals and teachers and employees of the district.
I'll give a couple of updates. He's starting the morning on Tuesday the 29th, meeting with our leadership from our two unions. That's AFSCME and DEA. Both Tuesday and Wednesday, he's going to be meeting with administrators, principals separately, and assistant principals separately. We have built-in lunch and so forth. He is going to be very busy. The afternoon of Tuesday the 29th, we have two sessions for staff members, 2:30 to 3:30 at Gilbert H. Hood, and 3:45 to 4:45 at Ernest P. Barker. And then, as you mentioned, the community one, 5:30 to 7, that's at the Ernest P. Barker Gymnasium. For anybody, staff members as well as community members who are available in the evening. And then breakfast again on Wednesday morning with the non-administrative SAU staff, maintenance staff, food service, and then some more principals throughout the day. We even were able to schedule for our second shift custodians the afternoon, 12:45 to 1:45 at the SAU, and then he does have to head out for a flight later that afternoon. So he's going to be busy for a couple of days. I hope community members, once again, I can't emphasize it enough, 5:30 to 7 on Tuesday, October 29th at Ernest P. Barker in the gymnasium.
Great, thanks, Austin.
Yep.
David, in addition to that, he has also produced a website or a web page for the superintendent search. He wanted a thumbs up from the board before I went live with it. So, I'll do that right now if you're shaking your heads.
Yeah, and virtual opportunities for those individuals who cannot make any of the times that are available throughout these 2 days. He has been very generous with his time, meeting individually or with small groups of people. He'll do Google Meets or Zoom Meets, talk to you on the phone, extremely receptive and available, and is looking for as much input as possible.
What I'd say is one thing. What I'd say is, if board members haven't already, take a look at that. We'll get you a copy if you don't have it, and I'll reach out to the two that are here tonight before we give the thumbs up on that. But I'll make sure it happens in the next day or so we can get this rolling.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to say is I think there's actually a virtual community night that's on the docket as well for November 7th. So anyone that is actually going to be viewing the fiscal advisory committee or has a prior obligation that they can't make the community engagement opportunity on the 29th, then there is also a follow-up on the November 7th. So keep your eyes peeled for more specifics on that. I don't know if the time has been figured out either.
Perfect. One other thing, we by this coming Monday, the board will receive advertisement and marketing recommendations for the posting of the ad to move forward with. They've already started reaching out to their national kind of group. So the ball's definitely rolling, and it's going to pick up steam. So once I have that information, I'll share with the board, and they can review it, and go from there. And then the other thing we have, so a couple days ago, the actual survey closed. I think it was the 20th. It closed. We have the results here. The participation of that. We had 159 people answer. Not great. So just kind of the breakdown. Employees, there was 46 employees, made up about 29%. Parents of our students, 92, which made up about 58%. And then Derry residents without students currently in the district was 37 at 23, but right around 23%. So I mean, it's a little disappointing, but throwing a lot at people. There's a lot going on. I get it. The one number I'm kind of a little shocked at is we have 600 employees in our district, I think, and only 46 filled it out. So that's not even a 10% hit rate. So it is what it is. All we can do is keep trying and moving forward and be positive and then change will happen and it'll be a good thing. But we give everyone the opportunity to do that. So I think that's pretty much everything for now. I don't think anything else, Jonathan, if I might have missed.
The one thing I'd add, David, what's encouraging is Scott and G&D, the accessibility to reach as many stakeholders. So maybe to close that gap that you mentioned with regards to district employees, hopefully this at least will provide an open forum for folks to contribute and ask questions and be involved and share feedback and share thoughts. So I was excited to hear the amount of meetings that he's conducting across all groups, and sounds like he's going to have a very packed full 2 days, and should be good. Looking forward to hearing the synthesis of the feedback and seeing next steps. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's very, very, very true, because one of the next steps in the process is to create that committee beyond Brenda, Jonathan, myself. So I got to set up a video call with him, or maybe I'll just try to catch him while he's here next week to try to set that up and look and try to figure out what that process looks like to get people involved in the actual search committee, which will need to be formed in probably early November. So more to come on that. I'll hook up with Scott this week and figure out a process to get Brenda, Jonathan, and myself kind of his recommendations and how we want to proceed moving forward with regards to that, because that's going to be here before we know it. So, all right. Anything else? Anyone?
No, just last, I'd reiterate what Austin said. If for whatever reason you missed a survey, anyone, whether you're an employee, a parent, or community member, you've got myself, David, Brenda, or we can get you connected to Scott as well. We will ensure that any information that you pass on to us will be kept private, and then we can pass it on to Scott, or we can get you in touch with them and set up that as well. So please don't hesitate to continue to reach out, and we will get you to the right person.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, so we got facilities. So just kind of give a high level how we ended last meeting regarding facilities. I think the discussion, the vote was up to $25 million. So tonight we have I wouldn't call it a final, we have the number that's been agreed upon with regards to the change to the West Running Brook banding from granite to brick. So that adjustment's been made. So it looks like the grand total is $313,301 is as the estimated number that we are currently working towards, unless something changes between now and the deliberative session. So that's kind of, and then along with that, Jane was kind enough to give some updates on tax impacts. So I know everyone in the audience has a sheet, but for the people at home, it's basically, it's labeled out 15 and 20-year bonds. The tax impact shows year 1 and year 2 on houses between 300,000 and 600,000. So I'll just give you a scenario. On a 15-year bond, the tax impact on a house assessed at 300,000, year 1 is $39. And just so people understand, the year 1 is interest only payment, so that's why it's lower than so the real kind of number you should focus in on is year 2, then it cascades down from there. But I'll still read them off here. So year 1 I won't go through everyone, I'll just give you this one example. 400K is $52 on year 1. 500K, $65, and 600K, $78. So the one that really matters, it's with all-in interest and principal. You have, and just so you know, this is a 15-year bond at a 3.46% interest rate. And as we stated earlier, as we see interest rates come down with the Fed, this number could get a lot better, because these numbers are as of today. Obviously, when this passes, it will be as of March or July, or when we go back to the bond bank of next year. So just keep that in mind. So on year 2, 15-year bond, 300K valuation is $153. 400K, $204. 500K, $255, and 600K, $306. So, and keep in mind, we have the amortization schedule. So if you look at the amortization schedule as well that Jane handed out, every year you'll see the tax rate goes down a few percentage points. So those numbers I just read off are the high end. Then they come down based on the amortization schedule. So year 3, it goes to 0.5%, 50 cents from 51, 48, 47. So it comes down till you get to the last year at 34 cents. So it's just that's a very quick update. I would, if you have any questions, concerns, email us, email Jane. I don't want to read off everything on the sheet tonight to everyone, but this will be available for people to look at. Obviously, there'll be a lot more discussion as between now and the deliberative, but at least this gives people a very good idea of what the impact would be. And there's also the impact of a 20-year bond, which obviously, when you amortize something out longer, you pay less taxes, but the interest is like $3 million difference. It's like a third. The total interest across the bond. So 15-year bond interest rate, and total interest paid is $6.9 million. 20-year, 9.7. So, it's all about preference, I guess. Obviously, the lower amount of interest is always a preference, but so more to come on that. Obviously, that decision has not been made. So at some point, we'll have to discuss that and figure that part out, what the term and length of the bond will be. But at least as of today, we've locked in at $24.3 million. Until that changes, that's what it's going to be, and we'll work off that assumption. And then there'll be more discussions on how we handle the years and the length and term rate of the bond. So more to come on that. And what I would say is, as I mentioned earlier, facilities committee is kind of the next phase of the process here of figuring out a plan to bring this to the public, education, and all that goes along with that. More to come on that. I don't have any updates tonight. We do have preliminary stuff that we've discussed a little bit, but nothing that has been agreed upon or kind of pushed forward to the next level. So they'll do more of that, but I'll open it up to these other guys if they have any questions or concerns about the numbers that we have in front of us.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. Obviously, we have, I think the education piece is going to be important, is how do we get the word out? So, I mean, between now and when we finalize the warrants, I think, we're going to have to figure out what the preferences of the town to do a 15 or 20 year, or what has the best chance of passing, and then kind of go from there. But, I mean, I guess you can always say everything is subject to change, but I mean, Yeah, I think this is a good, appreciate the update. It's good to have actual concrete or as close to concrete numbers as we can have. And as we get closer, then we'll have to make that decision when we get there. So appreciate this, Shane.
Yeah, just as a caveat too, Jane had mentioned to me that with the change from granite to brick, obviously, Gail will have to do a whole new process to change the schematics of what that looks like and all that. So that's factored in here. It's not a huge number, but it's in here. But that's just a FYI kind of thing. I think it's kind of, expected that we had initially had said granite, and they gave us pricing based on that. Obviously, they gave us 3 pricing, but they did the schematics based on that at the time. So I know, Jane, did you want to add anything else? That's what you're going to add in? Sorry. Okay. So
Real quick, Mr. Chair, Jane, do you have a figure on that revision, just for understanding, just so the question comes up, or we have an idea as to?
For Gail to do
Just the revision
new
for the drawings.
designs.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure. It'd be less than what he did the first time because a lot of the base is already done.
Yep.
And when I asked him, just to guesstimate, somewhere around 15 or 20, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
So, but we would want to do that. We would also, hopefully, if this is going to move forward, see if the board's okay with having Gail do the design for the South Range exterior as well, because that design for South Range hasn't been done yet. And so we need the board to be okay if we could do that so that they can go out to bid for that one as well.
I mean, the goal would be to get some of these projects prepared so that when this bond passes in March, you'd have projects you'd be able to do next summer.
Well, that's what our hope is, that they would be able to start them this summer. And when I've talked to Alan before, he would be able to put it out to bid pending financing. So that's what we're hoping to do.
Jane, when do you need a decision on the terms of the bond for the lawyer to do their thing?
Well, the sooner the better, because we have to have bond counsel start writing the warrant article, and there is obviously there's an application that we have to do in order to apply to get a bond. So the sooner the better. And the sale of the bond would be their July
Gotcha.
issue date.
Okay, let's think about that, and Michael and I can talk to Austin at our next meeting for when we talk about agenda items and figure that part out. We'll keep you guys posted. I don't know at this point, some moving parts in November that need to figure out. So, so Jane, we'll keep you posted on that. I think that's anything. I think that's all we have for that. Right, Jane? Nothing else, right? We're good? Okay. Oh, the only thing I would say, no, okay, never mind. So next on the agenda, you're up, Jane, for your business administrator update.
Okay, Cliff just posted the document that I handed out tonight. So that's now up in the folder with the board packet. And then I'll also have him, I'll send him the bond schedule from New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank for both the 15 and the 20 year. My report's very quick, but I like to mention at every meeting, please remember to fill out your free and reduced applications. If you feel like your family may qualify, we're always happy to help with that. Also, we have it's really budget meeting number 2, even the first one was really Budget 101. We will be, our budget books will be ready on Thursday. Thank you to Tracy and Steve for all their work with the budget. And then we will have a PowerPoint presentation on Tuesday night as well that backs up a lot of the detail of the budget. And we will also have Debbie Clayton from Health Trust will be be a presenter right in the opening of the budget meeting, just to talk about why the rates came in as they did. As you know, they came in as a range from 7.3 to 9.2%. And I think it's always good to hear from them how Derry is rated, because all of the districts are rated differently based on a number of factors. So she'll do her presentation, and then we'll present the PowerPoint next Tuesday night. So I did send an email to everybody. They can pick up their budget books after Thursday, and then I'll get the PowerPoint out probably sometime Monday night. That's it.
Jane, can you do me a favor? Can you send out to the fiscal advisory and the board the electronic copies for the bond? The updated bond paperwork and the amortization schedule. And in that email, can you kind of say, for the meeting on Tuesday night, can we have people come to the meeting prepared to discuss a target for our budget before we leave Tuesday nights? Because the week after will be the meeting where really the substance conversations will happen. So I think when people pick up, and also you mentioned the binder, so as part of that, it'd be nice for people to come to that budget meeting and have an understanding of where they want to be from a final number. Because I think that would be helpful when we start the discussion process the week after on the 4th. So if you don't mind doing that when you get a chance. And then, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Michael, or I know you're off, right? So we can handle the bulk of those questions if people have them. And then we can go from there, because I think it's really imperative that we start. I think it's important that you have a number that you need to know you have to reach after that meeting on Tuesday. And if you have to make adjustments going into that third meeting, it's important that they happen and the conversations happen at that time. So we're trying to move the process along and not stall out at any meetings. So anyone have anything else to add to that, or anything? We're all good? Move on? No? All right. Joe, you're up again. Curriculum update.
All right, thank you guys. So I'd just like to provide a little bit of an update on some grading and curriculum changes this year. There aren't a ton of changes, but we think it's important to kind of keep everybody in the loop. So we want to just make sure that we just provide a brief review of competency-based grading. The district has moved toward a competency-based system now many years ago, and part of that was led by the state of New Hampshire's requirements to move to a competency-based grading system, and we've been taking steps now for quite a while, and I think we've made some great progress. So just a quick review of that. We'll talk a little bit about some of the changes this year, and we have some links in this presentation to some sample report cards, or learning reports that we've been calling them for the last couple of years. So I won't go through all those individual reports today, but they're accessible to the public online. And then if anybody has questions, we can certainly talk about it. Want to start before I really go into this and just tell people that last week we held a report card grading forum discussion at Gilbert H. Hood Middle School for parents. We did have a handful of parents come out, and we talked a little bit about what's going on. We answered some questions. We got some feedback. We have another one coming up this coming Monday, the 28th of October at West Runningbrook at 6:30 p.m. It's open to anybody who would like to come and learn more about grading, report cards. We can talk a little bit about Parent Portal. We'll answer questions from people and try to provide resources to help out. If I go backwards, this summer we held a parent forum to get feedback about reporting and report cards and grading practices. More than 20 parents, guardians attended that discussion, but then even more filled out some survey responses that I had sent out to all those. We invited everybody, and then I got a handful of people, more than a handful, a bunch of people interested, and they gave some great feedback about that. So we've been taking all this feedback and making some changes. So I'll get into those changes in just a minute. Just as a quick reminder, competency-based grading is kind of built around some really essential principles that guide our work. Three of those principles that I wanted to highlight here is competency-based grading. One thing that is really specific about it is that we specifically identify and communicate exactly what we expect students to know and be able to do. So that's a little bit different if you think about traditional grading systems. They're much more subjective. They're much less clear and transparent about what students need to know and be able to do. The second thing is in a competency-based system, you're directly measuring the academic knowledge and skills. So you're scoring standards, which are statements expressing what students should know and do. You're not scoring artifacts or assignments, you're scoring standards. Thirdly, we use an equal interval scale, not to get too into the weeds about the math a bit, but we use a 4-point scale partly because when you start combining scores together and you start averaging things, if you don't have an equal interval scale, which like most of us are familiar with the 100-point scale, which is not an equal interval scale, which basically means the distance between an F and a D and a C and a B and an A is different. All of those different grades are different sizes in the scale. So what happens is one score has a much, much, much heavier weight on the average when you start combining scores together. So it's a known issue. It's something that higher ed has been using a 4-point scale for a long time. Most other industries that do scoring, rubric-based scoring, use typically a 4 or 5-point scale because it's an equal interval scale. So that's another important piece of what competency-based learning is, or grading. So I kind of just covered all these pieces here. I don't think we need to go over the same things, but just wanted to provide a little bit of the differences between traditional grading and competency-based grading. There are lots of benefits. First off, the idea that teachers are assessing agreed upon standards. So everybody who's teaching 8th grade math is assessing the same 8th grade standards, creates a level of consistency across classrooms that we don't have in a traditional system. Anybody who grew up in a traditional system knows that if you had friends on another team or with a different teacher, you were not necessarily being graded on the same things. Second piece, and this is really important to the instruction and the planning part of grading, is that assessments in a competency-based system are linked directly to standards, right? So that ensures that we are scoring what students know and can do. We're not scoring what we call non-academic factors. The example that sometimes we talk about is when I went to school, I got a grade if I had a cover on my book, if I covered the book, right? Not to say that covering your book isn't important if you still have books. It just isn't directly related to an academic standard. So when I start throwing scores like that into my grade book, I distort and I change the actual outcome of that grade, and we end up having grades that don't really reflect what students can know and do. So a competency-based system separates out those targets and measures them separately. It also means that we have to design assessments differently. We have to design tests, quizzes, projects, assessments that directly align up with a standard, it's a hard thing to do as an educator, but it's also a really important thing to do because it calibrates all of our teaching and our instruction and our curriculum resources to what it is we're setting out to measure. This helps us with addressing intervention and academic gaps. I threw the bullet up there. It's also required under the minimum standards in the state of New Hampshire that we have a competency-based grading system. So I don't think that's the most important reason to adopt it, but it's a reason that we certainly consider. So I want to get into some of the changes that we made based on feedback from families, from teachers, from other administrators. First off, in the past there's a couple changes to our grading scale. One, we've done away with the LP, EP, DP, HP terms, mostly because we heard almost unanimously, perhaps unanimously, from our parent group, they're confusing, they're hard to understand, they're not intuitive. So please consider going to a number-based system that I don't need to look up a code to know that a 4 is higher than a 3, but I do need to look up a code to find out if an HP is better than a DP, which I completely understand. That was a system that we had put in place during COVID. I think in the 2019-2020 year, we had moved to those terms, and I think we're ready now to use these numbered terms. So that's one big piece. The second thing is we had two different scales. We had a scale at the elementary school level that was a 3-point scale, and we had a scale at the middle school that was a 4-point scale. After we've now experienced that for a couple of years, we feel as though having a consistent scale, K-8, that isn't going to change on our students as they move from elementary to intermediate to middle makes a lot of sense. As I've said, the 4-point scale is also the standard scale that is used by higher education. Pinkerton Academy also uses a 4-point scale in addition to their 100-point scale. So it's very, very consistent with other practices. Another change, and we've done a presentation about this at a previous board meeting, just wanted to, again, put a little visual up here to help people understand this. On our report cards or our learning reports this year, we'll be providing feedback to families and students on social emotional skills for students. We've adopted a model called CARES, which is an acronym. As you can see here, it stands for Cooperation, Assertiveness, Responsibility, Empathy, and Self-Control. It is a research-based program. It's been around for a very long time. It is aligned to many of our existing practices, like responsive classroom. Many of our teachers have been trained in responsive classroom. A lot of especially our elementary students have been using CARES in their schools for years. So it's just a really, really nice transition to use this model on our report cards. It's color-coded. We also purchased some materials to support teachers. It's a program called Fly 5, which is really a CARES implementation program that has lessons around bullying, around empathy, around how to cooperate and communicate with other people that might have different ideas than you, and they're K-8 lessons. So for the most part, those lessons are targeting K-6 students. The Fly 5 lessons do show up in the middle school. They're mostly coming through the guidance counselors at the middle school, but at the elementary and intermediate, classroom teachers are going to be delivering these lessons. Some of them have already started. This is just our CARES readiness scale. So again, we wanted to create a scale that looks very similar to the academic scale. It's not going to confuse a lot of people. It's going to, again, stay consistent around a 4-point scale. Group of teachers over the summer developed the language for this scale. It might seem like, oh, that couldn't have taken very long. There's not a lot of words up there. If you've ever tried to design a grading scale with a bunch of people, especially experts like teachers, and experts have a lot of background knowledge, it can be hard to form consensus, but I think they did a great job. And then these are just some general, what we think are important improvements to our grading communication process. First off, a couple of bits of feedback we got from families. One, that the learning reports last year were too long. I think some people, in that focus group, that discussion, I did hear from people, we want lots and lots of details, but we want them shorter, which is a challenge, right? Because I hear both of those statements I agree with. I do want them shorter because they can be overwhelming to look at when they're 7-8 pages long. But I also think it's really important to give families as much information as possible, especially if we're collecting. So we've streamlined our learning report, our report cards. They will typically be between 3 and 4 pages long. But we've also created a detailed report that is going to be accessible to parents who want to dig in and get more information. So that detailed report will not just show competency attainment or the scores for each competency. It'll also show the substandards, or sometimes we call them I can statements, sometimes we call them learning targets, but the standards that fall below those competencies. So parents will still be able to access all of that information. Something that we think is going to be very popular in the handful of parents that I've talked to about this, they've been cheerful, and that is we have figured out a way where we can email the learning reports or the report cards directly to parents' inboxes. They will not have to log into Parent Portal and go to that report, find the report button, and then see their child's archived report. Now, we will still archive all of the learning reports, so they will be accessible to parents to go back there anytime. They'll be able to see not just the current year's reports, but previous year's reports. Cliff and his team have done an outstanding job with that. But we wanted to cut out the middleman because we understand that, one, a lot of people are looking at this stuff on their mobile devices. And if you've ever tried to log into websites on your mobile device, sometimes it's not as simple as that. So we're trying to make it easier by sending a PDF document right to people's inboxes. As I said, we've included some CARES information. I think it was one of the most common bits of feedback we got this summer was parents wanted additional information about how their children are doing in school around these social emotional skills. They want feedback in this area. So we're including that. Another thing at the intermediate and middle school levels, as a common refrain we heard was, parent portal can be really tricky for me to navigate around finding out if my child has any missing or late assignments. Now, there's still some bugs in the portal. I've actually got an email out to one of our consultants to help us work through some of that portal stuff. But to help with that, we've created an on-demand report called the Assignment Completion Report that parents can run, but also teachers and administrators can run and email directly to parents. So for those parents that are really active and they want to just go into the portal and run it themselves because they want to have a conversation with their child about assignments, that'll be accessible. We'll be rolling out directions on how to do that. But for those parents that need a little bit of help, that reach out to a teacher and say, hey, I'm struggling to I want to make sure my child has completed all these assignments. A teacher can run that report in probably 15 seconds and email it directly to the parent. So we hope that also takes some of the stress out of finding information out. On this presentation are links to sample learning reports. I wrote that they're in draft form because there's always little tweaks and little bits that we're trying to improve, things like formatting and things like that. But families can go on and click on these links and see examples of the learning reports. And we pulled them up in our focus group or our discussion last week so parents could take a look at them. It just so happened that we all had middle school parents, so we pulled up the middle school learning report. And then this last slide is where can I learn more? So we shared a grading practices update that included many of these topics in our October newsletter. It went out 2 or 3 weeks ago. We also made a video for parents that might need help setting up their parent portal account. In that newsletter was information from Dr. Dancy about how to set up your account. Parents should have gotten an email with an access ID and a password. If they don't have that information, they've lost it, they've misplaced that email, you click on Derry registration at SAU 10 and Dan likely will email you back with your information. Your information is private and connected to your child, so obviously we can't post that online. So we have to send a private email to you. So we already did that once, but we're happy to do that again. Just reach out to that email address if you need help. We've also got, Kim and I have been working closely on this. Both of our email addresses and phone numbers are up there. If parents have additional questions, like I said, Monday the 28th, we'll be doing a presentation and answering questions for families and posting more videos on our website to help people figure out how to navigate this. Any questions?
Not a question as much as a comment, Joe, but thank you to you and Kim and everybody for everything that went into this and for being nimble and hearing the feedback and understanding how to change and make adjustments that stay within the competency base, but still help to kind of meet folks where they are. So I know there's a lot, and there's a lot coming at you guys, and we, as parents and board are quite demanding with kind of expectations. But you guys have been very gracious in kind of trying to bridge the gap and help to educate folks and, again, meet people where they are, but also to, let's try to make this work for everybody. So just wanted to say thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is all good stuff. I mean, clearly there's been a lot of time and energy put into this. And I guess what I would say is, when I first ran for school board, I was totally like, all right, let it grade. But as you learn more and more of this process, it's just clear that's what we need to get our children to the next level, students to a next level. Because we hear a lot of criticism that our test scores are where they are, but we're seeing improvement there. And these are the kind of things that will help with that. If you can identify where a student is struggling and you can attack that based on whatever criteria or whatever they're struggling at, that's common sense kind of thing that you should do. And I know there's a lot of different feedback you get regarding letter grades and this process and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, if you want to see improvements in our test scores or whatever you want to take it against, you got to try something different. And you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. This is not just this, but there's one of many factors that go into changing that dynamic and move into a direction where we can say the increases are getting more substantial improvements over time. And I commend you guys for this, and I think it's a great system to facilitate that process. And one of many that you're doing. It's not the only thing, obviously, that we've seen over the last several months that you've gone through. So thank you very much for that. And hopefully that we'll see that progress continue as we have already. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to put a punctuation mark on it, our teachers have done the heaviest lift here. So teacher committees have been a part of a lot of this work, but really the secret in improving test scores, improving student achievement, and really not just improving test scores, but helping students grow into the people that we know that they can become is really high quality teachers. So it is not easy to transition to a competency-based system, to transition to common assessments and standards and these things. And it doesn't come without hiccups, but I would say overwhelmingly the teacher group has been outstanding in their dedication. Maybe you've already noticed this. This is more work for teachers. Okay, when the traditional system, when you got a report card that said math, B, there was a lot behind that you had no access to, and that system was around for a couple hundred years and was designed to sort kids into categories. It wasn't designed to improve student achievement. This system is designed for that, but it comes with a ton more work for teachers, and that is not lost on Kim and I, so they're doing a great job. It's hard, but it's worth it.
All right, well, thanks, Joe. So item number 10, policies. As I said earlier, I'd like to push this off to the meeting on the 14th. This is a second reading on our therapy animals, school board meeting rules and procedures, transportation riders, and rental and service charges. I'd like to push that off to the 14th. If there's no objections, we'll do that and have a full board present to vote on that night. You're up, Austin. Your update.
Okay. During the 1990s, I was the Work to Learn coordinator in special education at Pinkerton Academy, where I met a gentleman by the name of Dave Morency, who was the father of one of my Work to Learn students. He and I spent many weekends involved with Special Olympics, and I got to know him very well. When I came to the Derry Cooperative School District in 2004, I realized that he had become a custodian here in the district in 2002 and then was promoted to the maintenance department where he worked until 2012. I am very sad to say that he passed away last week from cancer, and I want to send my condolences to his daughter, my former Work to Learn student, to her family, and I ask that we have a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you, and thank you to Dave Morency for his service. Budget season is upon us once again, and I want to thank the administration, all school board members, and especially those people who volunteered to be part of our fiscal advisory committee. As you've heard tonight, 1 week from tonight at 6:30 p.m. in the West Running Brook Intermediate School cafeteria is our next budget meeting. Except for one returning member, this year's fiscal advisory group are all new to the committee. And I want to just mention their names here tonight. Michael Allen, Stephen Barry, Christopher Broom, Thomas Carden, Elizabeth Cochran, Jody Nelson, Jenna Paradise, Marissa Rousseau-Stitt, Jennifer Thoreau, and Anthony Henry, sitting right there at the end of our school board up here as our alternate. Since our school district budget did not pass during voting in March of '24 for the first time in over 3 decades, these people are even more critical than ever to help put to the voters a budget that we all know will pass this coming March. As you learn how the school district budget is created, please reach out to the people you know to help even more of the voters learn about this very transparent process. The more that people know about just what makes up the school district budget, I believe, the more that people will be willing to support it. So thank you all again for your volunteering. You heard earlier about the resignation of school board member Mr. Will Danger. I want to personally thank him for his time and service, and I hope he is successful in the future. Remember, you have until the 7th of November if you are interested in applying for his position. Last week, I finished my 3rd set of visits to our schools, classrooms, and offices since the start of this school year. The dedication of our staff members is apparent wherever I go, and students are enthusiastically engaged in their learning. I have read to some students, been interviewed by a publishing class, was an active participant in an outdoor physical education class, attended many teacher grade level meetings, and had discussions with all of our administrators. As we approach the next holiday, which is definitely one of my favorites, Halloween, students and staff will once again see me dressed up as the grandfather from the movie Up. I think it was Matt Olson from South Range, the principal over there, said, I look like him even when I'm not dressed up. So there you have it. Let me see. How's that look? But anyways, I love interacting with the children on this level as they get to see me in a different way. It is amazing to see some of the quietest students come out of their shell to talk with me and ask questions. I look forward to these interactions, and I will see you all soon out in the schools. And just one more moment to thank Joe, to thank Kim Conant, Erin Schwannard, Mitch Edwards, Dennis Mayo, the members of the curriculum department. Joe was nice enough to sing the praises of our exceptional teachers who have done a lot of heavy lifting in this area, and I just want to also thank him and his curriculum group for the amount of time and effort and work they've put through and the assistance they are giving to those teachers on a daily basis. So thank you all.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate it. All right, so we did committees. We skipped over that. So other business, I guess what I would say is just kind of piggybacking on what Austin said regarding the budget. There's been a lot of discussion on the board and some in the community is about our taxes. So what I would say is this is the time of year to become involved, watch the meetings, ask questions of us offline and reach out, and just because I think the key to everyone's questions is just how the process works. Once you understand how the process works and what goes into the process, it becomes clear of the challenges that the school district faces. I won't get into that right now. We'll talk about that next week, but I think if people take the time to watch these online or wherever on TV, you'll get it, and it's not as complicated as you would think. The challenges are pretty apparent and they stick out like a sore thumb. So I would encourage people to take the time to watch a couple meetings. It's like 4 or 5 meetings, whatever it is, 5 more meetings, and ask questions and give feedback to whoever, whether it's the fiscal advisory guys or the board or whoever you want to talk to, the administration. But I encourage people to do that because your questions will get answered and it will become apparent how things operate and at what level the school board has to change the dynamic of our taxes in this town is very limited and out of our control in a lot of instances. So I'll leave it at that. With that being said, unless anyone has anything else, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Jason. Second by Jonathan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.